Hey everyone, Gill Gross here post-match. Novak Djokovic versus Taylor Fritz, Australian Open 2024 quarterfinal. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video. Djokovic takes this in 4. For my money, it's the best Djokovic-Fritz match there has ever been. Best is a pretty general word, but certainly the highest quality of tennis, which is mostly down to Taylor Fritz adding some wrinkles, playing to the best of his ability, and being competitive in sets 1 and 2. Sets 3 and 4, Djokovic certainly imposed his will, created some separation, was the better player very clearly. So this was a match that evolved and changed over time. As a result, I'll kind of take it step by step with my analysis, go a little bit more chronological than usual. In the end, Djokovic does indeed take a 9-0 head-to-head on Taylor Fritz. Let's start with the first set. A lot went wrong for Novak. A lot went right for Taylor in this opening set. I mean, Djokovic started off putting in a lot of effort trying to get off to a quick start. I mean, highly intense in his defense, and he created some opportunities on Fritz's serve right away and just couldn't quite get there and convert on break opportunities. He had break points in 3 separate Fritz service games in the opening set, and he wasn't able to convert. And in the end, it was 0 for 8 Djokovic on break points. With every escape, with every hole that Fritz was able to dig himself out of course, his confidence and his belief grew within this opening set. And to compound those problems for Djokovic, he served terribly. The first serve percentage was 46 going into the tiebreak. At the end of the first set, it ended up being 48%. So when you're not converting your break opportunities and you're not making your first serves, that's obviously danger zone for Djokovic. And sure enough, 2 set points for Taylor Fritz in this opening set at 5-6. Novak saved them pretty well, especially this 15-40 point where he made his first serve. He hit a good +1 forehand down the line and stepped inside the court for a backhand cross-court winner on the 5th shot of the rally, which went behind Taylor Fritz. Then he hit a service winner at 30-40, which was kind of a weird one. Fritz swung and missed. I don't know if the ball hit the line and therefore didn't bounce how Fritz would have expected it to bounce. But Djokovic climbs out of that and forces a first set tiebreak. I don't want to get too into the weeds on all this stuff, but you'll see that I'm going somewhere. In this tiebreak, there were 2 major mistakes that you'd circle for Taylor. Only thing that I think is important to note is that the mistakes were preceded by brilliant Djokovic defense. And one of them was a swing volley. Again, Fritz was certainly in a winning position. Certainly it was a bad mistake, but against most players, he would have already have won the point. So a missed swing volley and a forehand drop shot, which was a little deep in the court. The execution was lacking on that forehand dropper a little bit, and he didn't close the net hard enough either on it. And Djokovic ended up outfoxing him from there after getting to the drop shot. There was also some brilliance from Novak. There was a great short chip followed by a backhand passing shot, so bringing Taylor in against his own will. There was a second serve that Djokovic hit really big and ended up getting a service winner out of. And overall, Novak also made a couple of first serves, more first serves in this tiebreak than he had been making throughout the opening set. So he takes the first set in a tiebreak. And I think big picture here, the MVP of Novak's first set victory was actually his second serve. In terms of big picture themes, because he needed it to be really, really good. And I thought it was a big emphasis that Fritz needed to be aggressive on the second serve return. I said that coming in because looking at the numbers in this head-to-head, and again, I said this in the preview, but Djokovic has won over 55, well over 55% of his second serve points the last 3 times he's played Taylor Fritz. And I thought it was important that that was going to change. But just looking at the way that Djokovic was hitting his second serve, for me, it was hard to even say that Fritz had any opportunity to attack these second serves because they were really big. They were aggressive. And they stay relatively low as well. Djokovic likes to slide it into Fritz's forehand. And he's so good at remaining unattackable on the second serve. And boy, he needed that, making only 48% of his first serves. But it kind of flips around and it goes the other way because first game of the second set, the missed first serves continue. And I kind of thought that after the first set, especially because Novak made some opening deliveries in the tiebreak, I thought it was going to turn around. And then first game of the second set, atrocious serving. This time, the second serve didn't bail out Novak. Djokovic actually double faulted twice in this game. Fritz got the break. And the break point stuff continued for Novak. 0 for 8 in the first set. He ended up being 0 for 7 in the second set. But I will say, Djokovic did make a couple of mistakes in the first set. If you look at the 8 points, there was a missed second serve return. There was a forehand that I thought was pretty neutral that he shouldn't have missed. In the second set, it was all 7 really great by Taylor. I looked at every point. There was 1 ace in there. There were 5 winners in rally, which is such a huge number against Novak. 5 winners in rally. 1 forced error in rally as well. 0 unforced errors by Djokovic is really the point that I'm trying to make. 0 unforced errors in the 7 break points that Fritz saved in the second set. This was also a point in the match where I think the heat came into play because Djokovic was low energy, very, very low energy at points in this second set. And if you want to kind of look big picture at Djokovic's baseline game, you could say that it was too passive in big moments. And you could also say this about some of the break points in the first set. But I think the court position was being dominated by Fritz, and Djokovic didn't seem like he was too interested in challenging that and taking the ball a little bit earlier. Thought the ground stroke speeds were a little low as well at times. So when you combine those two things, you have deep court position and lower ground stroke speeds. You're giving Taylor a lot of time. You give Fritz time, he's going to hit really big off the ground. That's where his ball striking is going to shine. So I can't say that Djokovic did a great job, especially on these big points, of making Taylor play defense and rushing Taylor. Other than that, Fritz really took matters into his own hand. I'm going to give more big picture thoughts on Fritz's performance a little bit later on. But before I do that, I want to talk about sets 3 and sets 4. That starts with talking about Djokovic's serve. Now, the serve stabilized in the second set. It didn't matter. Novak was already down a break, and he never broke Taylor. So it didn't matter in the second set because he served so horribly in that first game, and that was the difference. But he did start to serve well. He would serve well for the rest of the match after the first game of the second set. In fact, if you want to look at the numbers in sets 3 and 4, good would be an understatement for how well Djokovic served. The serve went from 0 to 100. It went from red to green, and it skipped yellow. That's kind of what happened in this match, because in sets 3 and sets 4, both sets were well over 70%. The ace rate was over 20% for both sets combined. 10 total aces. For those of you who follow ace rate as a stat more carefully, you know that 20% is like John Isner level. That's like where Isner is. 82% first serve points won for Djokovic in the first and the second set. Fritz just doesn't have, second and third. I was wrong again. Third and fourth. Third time's the charm. Fritz just doesn't have the athletic defensive abilities to have a lot of success if Djokovic is going to serve well. And when he does get returns in play, which frankly wasn't all that much in 3 and 4, but obviously you have that aggressive, precise +1 ball. Fritz isn't going to win a lot of points, scrambling or at all when Novak is hitting good spot first serves. That's the reality of this matchup. And then on the other side of the coin, you have Djokovic's returning, which became just as big a problem for Fritz in sets 3 and sets 4. Sets 3 and 4. You look at Fritz's weapons, the first serve and the forehand. And look, the backhand is tremendous, but that's not how he wants to win point in and point out on serve. He wants the first serve to be highly effective. He wants to control with the forehand behind that first serve. And if those things are happening, you're going to see Taylor win a lot of points on his first 2 swings. Serve, forehand, 0 through 4 shot rally lengths. Well, what happened in 3 and 4 on Fritz's serve, Djokovic won the majority of 0 through 4 shot rallies, 16-12. And that is a massive red flag for Taylor, and really kind of is going to secure Djokovic victory every time if that happens. It's not really down so much to first serve percentage, because Fritz's first serve percentage, it was bad in the third, but it was good in the fourth. Novak's returning was absolutely dominant. It was just consistently neutralizing. He came up with so many deep middle returns that stifled Fritz, that rushed Fritz. And in combination, if you look at it, Djokovic, unbelievable serving, unbelievable returning. What's going to happen is he's going to create this massive advantage in the 0 through 4 shot rally length. That's what he did. Pretty interesting how this played out. I wouldn't guess that it would be this drastic in this particular matchup, but Djokovic won 0 through 4 shot rallies, 95-64. Fritz won rallies over 5 shots, or rallies over 4 shots, I should say, 57-53. Fritz won the extended exchanges over the course of the match, but he didn't win it nearly as emphatically as Djokovic won the 0 through 4. Not even close. So serve return created a massive advantage for Djokovic. Fritz, Taylor's performance, I want to end on that. He should be super proud. It was a Fritz stock up match, in my opinion. One of the things, so first of all, we wanted him to add wrinkles. It was like, if you are going to make progress in this head-to-head, you're going to have to do something other than linear power tennis. And he found that something, that wrinkle in the forehand drop shot. I did notice last year that Fritz was starting to hit the forehand drop shot a little bit more, just going to it, but he had massive technical flaws on it. There's a lot of body English. He would kind of pull his head up. His whole upper body would kind of lift up off of the shot. And there was just too much motion happening where, like, you want a sense of stability and stillness when you're hitting a drop shot. So Fritz, I think in the offseason, worked on his forehand drop shot technique, and he used it often in this match. He used it beautifully. I know I mentioned the 1 point in the tiebreak in the first set where it didn't work out. And look, there were a lot of points where it didn't work out, but my mindset with this was, if you try some things, you can look at yourself in the mirror, I think, and you can say, my mind was working. I was looking for solutions. I was trying something different. So I was so happy to see Fritz's frequent uses of the forehand drop shot. I think it was effective in winning points for portions of the match, and it complements his game well. It complements all these guys who hit huge off the forehand. It complements their game well. So, like, if you're Rublev, if you're Sinner, if you're Fritz, you got to have it. You got to have it. Another thing that I noticed, Fritz looking very competent with his backhand slice. That has not always been the case in his career, but in moments where it made sense, whether it be off of a Djokovic slice, whether it be off of a low ball, if he was a little rushed and he just wanted to slow down the pace of the rally, he would go to his slice, and when he did, it was good. It very much looked the part. Taylor also came in when there were obvious opportunities to come in. The volleys were fine. I don't think his net play was a big factor in his success in the match. I don't think they were a big factor in his failure in the match, but at the very least, it wasn't a case of Djokovic is dominating with his defense and you just have a Taylor Fritz that just refuses to come forward, which it has been in some of their previous matchups. And lastly, Taylor never got passive. Big swings on the forehand, and boy, was he pulling the trigger on the backhand down the line. That was probably the one shot that helped him the most in saving the first, 15. I think it was the first 15 break points of the match. The shot that helped him the most, maybe the first serve, but also the backhand down the line, which is a marvelous shot that Taylor has in his repertoire. And he did really well here against Novak in just trying to use it as much as possible. So, yeah, I feel like Fritz really threw everything he could at Djokovic, but when he can't really make the returns and Novak is dominating with his serve and Novak is holding up against his first serve and just completely neutralizing it, there's really not much Taylor can do there. So, Djokovic advances to the semis. He is 20-0 at the Australian Open when he wins his quarterfinal match. He has never lost in the Australian Open semis. He's never lost in the Australian Open final. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.